Hey everyone, thanks for joining this midweek check-in of Democracy-ish. We are live Monday and Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on Danielle Moody's fantabulous YouTube channel, which you must go subscribe to, and we have to get her to 40,000. And in the week, we join up as the Avengers, the multicultural Avengers, with our Substacks, the Damn Digest, and the Left Hook. We are terrible capitalists, but we are not fools. Maybe we are fools, Danielle. We deliberately keep everything for free because we want people to be informed as we're dealing with what we have said for 3.5 years on Democracy-ish is a white nationalist authoritarian force. We have said it. We have used those words. And people said, Danielle and Waj, you black and you brown, you so crazy. You are so irrational. You're hysterical. You suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. Be civil, both sides, economic anxiety. Donald Trump will leave. Don't you worry. And he didn't leave. Oh, they'll moderate. They didn't moderate. Marjorie Taylor Greene is an outlier. We're like, nope, she's the center and the base. White nationalist talking points won't go mainstream by 2024 or 2025. What, you crazy? Now, literally, we have 2,900 pages of Telegram messages that Politico last night got a copy of, thanks to a Republican leak, because they keep fighting with each other. We kept warning these people are petty mother effers. Republican leaked young Republican leaders promoting white nationalism, 1488, the white supremacist creed, all different variations of the N-word, Danielle, all different Baskin-Robbin flavors. They said, I love Hitler, as one does. They said rape is epic, as one does. And they've spent the past month, Danielle, right here in Virginia, castigating Jay Jones, who sent a really stupid text, fantasizing about violence against an opponent. And they said, this man should drop out. And he might lose, by the way, his race. And meanwhile, in these texts, they're fantasizing about throwing us into the gas chamber and torturing us. And you would think, Danielle, if these were normal times, Republicans would say, I condemn this. This does not represent who we are. And also, I condemn Jay Jones. They didn't do that. As of today, right now, they are doubling down. Now they're saying, we don't care. This is nonsense. J.D. Vance, just today, folks, after doubling down yesterday and not condemning them, he said, I don't care about what kids are saying. These are grown-ass men. When Jay Jones sent that text, he was a state legislator. Danielle, one of these men is a state legislator. Another works in the White House. Others are working with Elise Stefanik. The average age is about their 30s. And now you're having, folks, I'm just going to give you a rundown. I'm going to unleash it to Danielle. Yesterday, Pam Bondi, just like Stephen Miller and Donald Trump, invoked the Insurrection Act. Today on Fox, we have the Trump administration linking these protesters in Chicago, 79-year-old white men, children, unarmed black women, to Mexican drug cartels. Today, Mike Johnson said that no King's rally is going to be filled with Antifa and terrorists and disruptors. Meanwhile, the Epstein files haven't been released. Danielle, meanwhile, Adelita Grijalva has not been sworn in. Meanwhile, as the government is shut down and they're openly, gleefully terminating lifelong government employees, we just heard right now that the Argentina buddy of Donald Trump is not getting a $20 billion. He's getting $40 billion. And Donald Trump is hosting $1 million a plate dinner in D.C. With all of that, I give it to you, Danielle, to unpack the economic anxiety of these Republicans, because, of course, it's not racism. Danielle?
So, one, thank you, Waj, for that exhaustive list of all of the things that are weighing on my soul and spirit today. So here's what I will say. To be honest, I don't know what the point of the Politico expose was, right? And the reason why I say this is because you're right. 20 years ago, that would have been at the end of everybody's political career that was on that chain. That would have been a parade of Republicans coming out and absolutely distancing themselves from this group, from those people, and they would be done for. We're not 20 years ago, right? This is not the early 2000s. The Republican Party that used to be able to be shamed into doing the right thing, into standing up for morals and values that we were all supposed to share, with the cornerstone of that being the Constitution, doesn't matter. So again, I say, what was the point of Politico releasing that expose? What do you think that JD Vance is going to say in response to it? What do you think that Republicans in this current climate are going to say in response to it? It is a waste of our time. And not because I don't believe that, like, oh, we should know who we're dealing with, but we do know who the fuck we're dealing with. So, like, again, what is the expectation there? Because if you're going to, as a reporter, ask JD Vance, what do you make of the Young Republicans group that is clearly affiliated themselves with Hitler-loving language, rape, and what have you? And JD Vance says, oh, I don't care what these kids are saying, and say, these are not kids. Where is the follow-up to that? These are not children. You know who was a child? Tamir Rice, who was murdered for playing on a playground, 20 years ago. Do you know who else was a kid that was murdered? Trayvon Martin. You know who else was a kid? Mike Brown. These are not fucking children. These are adult white people who are allowed to be infantilized and allowed a adolescence that apparently exists well into their fucking 70s. So my feeling about how journalism is used right now and how these mainstream outlets are telling a story right now doesn't actually make sense to me. Because again, what do you hope that the reader gains from this? Right? So that's aside. We have known, Waj, you and I, for the last 3.5, 4 years, for the last 10 years under Donald Trump, that this has all been building towards a militarized fascist state, right? That they have literally put everything in place, literally funded to the tone of the 16th wealthiest country in the world, have funded ICE in order to abduct, kidnap, oppress, terrorize Americans, right? And everyone inside of America. So my feeling is this. The Supreme Court right now is going to gut voting rights, and I don't think that people understand. To the point that you're making, I was on MSNBC this morning, 10 a.m., right before my 10 a.m. hit. They're talking about the Supreme Court, and they're talking about it once again in this fucking gamified fashion of like, we win, they win some, we win some, blah, blah. That's not the fucking place that we are in. This isn't a game. People are
Nope.
dying. People are being disappeared. People are being sent to foreign countries in order to be tortured and used as slave labor and or sex trafficked and then never heard from again. This is not a game of tit for fucking tat that is happening right now. The Voting Rights Act is about to be gutted. And what does that mean? It means that we're not going to have midterms. Even before the Supreme Court was even hearing this case, I have been saying that we're not going to have midterms. And what do I mean by that? I mean, we're not having free and fair elections. We're not voting our way out of this. Nor do I believe that one action on one day, which is no kings, that everybody is putting their whole faith and fucking prayer in, is going to change anything. Don't talk to me about what you're doing on October 18th. Tell me what your plan is for October 19th and moving forward. Because what I've seen before in this country is consistently wanting to show up for a day of action for this fucking internship that then when it gets too hard or it gets too tough or it costs you too much, then everybody walks away from. And by everybody, I mean white Americans, because again, they're the ones that do not have skin in this game. So how do I feel today? And what do I feel about, the text chain and the Supreme Court of this? America is fucked until Americans decide to unfuck it. That's how I feel today.
And you know what? I feel you because speaking about the Voting Rights Act, something we've been talking about on Democracy-ish for 3 years is John Roberts, the alleged moderate. He has never been moderate. His wet dream since he was in college was to gut the Voting Rights Act. And today, folks, with this particular case, his wet dream is going to be realized. And the Washington Post and New York Times are reporting it seems like the Supreme Court. No, we know what's going to happen. They're going to gut the Voting Rights Act. And folks, why does that matter? Because as a result of gutting the Voting Rights Act, Democrats will be in danger of losing around a dozen majority-minority districts across the South.
19.
If the court strikes it down. So Democrats currently hold 24 seats in these southern states. Notice the southern states, Civil War. Yeah, it always goes back to white supremacy. Once they gut it down, they're going to gut it down. the plausible redistricting scenario has Republicans gaining 12 more seats. So all the blue that you see, gone, essentially gone. What does that mean? It means essentially the House is unwinnable in 2026, just being honest. Unless, of course, there's like a mass revolution and all these independents and, low information voters come out and despite the gerrymandering, the people turn on Republicans, as you're seeing happening, by the way, in Nebraska and these town halls. But essentially, the game is rigged, folks. That's what we're telling you. The game is rigged. They have the House. They have the Supreme Court. They have the media. They have CBS. And now CBS is just an arm of Larry Ellison, an unhinged psychopathic Zionist billionaire. Barry Weiss is a henchwoman. I have friends in CBS News. They're like, my God, it's so depressing. The morale is so low. ABC News bending the knee. You're seeing essentially every corporation bend the knee. Like we said on Democracy-ish, corporations will lay out the red carpet for fascism. We kept warning about it. And now you have this rigged Supreme Court. And Democrats are completely fractured because there's no real leadership. The leadership instead, folks, we try to be fair on the show. There's no both sides, but the only robust opposition that we have is the Democratic Party. What is the Democratic leadership doing right now, Danielle? They are mocking Zoran Mamdani. They are spending more ammunition taking down Zoran Mamdani than actually taking on, I don't know, Mike Johnson and others, right? Hakeem Jeffries, just completely useless. Everyone said it was Senator Schumer. I said it's Schumer and Jeffries. You saw the IHIP ladies. I don't know if you saw this great clip. I was on with Jennifer Welch for the first time on Don Lemon's show. Jen, and I think her co-host is Pumps. These are not politicians. These are not investigative journalists. They're just middle-aged moms, successful entrepreneurs with this podcast. They held Cory Booker's feet to the fire more than any journalist or host I've seen, like literally grilling him about his support for Netanyahu and Israel. And so you're seeing the Democratic Party willing to burn down their own base for corporate America and AIPAC instead of, I don't know, rallying around this one young man popular message, uniting people, right? Isn't that what they spend millions of dollars to find the Democratic Joe Rogan? You got Zoran Mamdani. And instead, we have corporate America and the establishment and Democrats not meeting to rise the moment. Am I being too harsh in my criticism, Daniel?
No, because it's absolutely true. The Democrats want a savior, but let's be clear that they want a white, cis, male Christian savior. That's who they wanted. If Zoran Mamdani's name was Zach Moore, and he was a white guy who happened to be 30-something years old and a Christian and running for mayor and had all the flair and everything like that, just wasn't brown or Muslim, then they would be all over him. You see, what it is for me is that Democrats want moderation. They want to have somebody that is going to still suck the tit of corporate America, that isn't going to piss off the donors, that has the sleek white guy, look that they want and that they all can't do without. That's what they want. They don't want systematic change. They want the fucking status quo. And that is why they can't rally around Zoran Mamdani, because Zoran Mamdani is not going to say, you know what? I think it's fine that you all take money from AIPAC. I think it's fine that you take money from Google and Meta and this place and that place that is all about monetizing distraction and disillusionment and numbing the people so that they don't actually make any realistic change. I think it's totally fine that we can talk about a living wage but actually never do anything or pass any type of policy that is actually about providing a living wage. I think it's fine that you use, Medicaid as a talking point, but you don't actually do anything because you're going to vote with Republicans anyway because you want to show that you're the adults in the room. I am so fucking exhausted. I am exhausted by the Democratic Party. I think they are useless. I think they are feckless. I think that if anybody in their right mind right now is still relying on this party to find their way out, it's been 10 years, Waj. 10 years since Donald Trump came down that escalator. 10 years since he called Mexicans rapists and murderers. 10 years since we learned that he could grab women by the pussy. 10 years since we learned about all of the mortgage fraud. 10 years since we've learned about the fraud around Trump University. 10 years since his COO went to Rikers. 10 years. And they haven't figured out what to do. They haven't figured out how to challenge it. And instead, in that time, what has happened? It is metastasized, right? There was a time when MAGA could have been brought down. You know what it was called then? The fucking Tea Party. But everybody wanted to pretend that that wasn't a big deal. right? Economic anxiety. Oh,
There you go.
we gotta cater to the middle white American and talk to them about the ways in which, oh my God, the country that they have loved and that has catered to them is now gone. We didn't challenge those people to get new skills. We didn't challenge them to actually meet the 21st century where it was. No, we told them that we would drag them back to the 20th century, right? That's what it was that Republicans offered. And that's why we're where we are. But if we think that after 10 years of this shit, that this machination of the Democratic Party is going to do some shit to actually change us, my God, we might as all just sit around, hold our breath, and let us all pass out and die before ICE comes into our homes and drags us out.
Some breaking news, and then I'm gonna retort and connect the dots in my DeLorean as well. Surprise, surprise! New York Times just announced that the Trump administration is considering the overhaul of the refugee system that would favor. Anyone take a guess? Daniel, want to take a guess? Favor who?
Oh, I don't know. White refugees from
White people.
Finland,
There
Norway,
you go.
from wherever. Folks, it is a white nationalist project. Everybody open their fucking eyes. It is a white nationalist project. You imprison the black and brown people. You lock them into slave labor. You lock them away and you call them terrorists and criminals. And then you usher in all of these white people. And then guess what? Because you've taken away a woman's right to choose, now you have white incubators in order to finish off the project. That's what they want. That's what they want. It's what they've always wanted.
Well, let me read it. The Trump administration is considering a radical overhaul of the U.S. refugee system that would slash the programs to its bare bones while giving preference to English speakers, white South Africans, and Europeans who oppose migration. Europeans who oppose migration,
But are
according to
coming to the
document.
United
Yeah.
States?
According to documents obtained by the New York Times. Folks, he's already done this. He's given preference to South African white farmers and promoted the bullshit white supremacist white genocide theory. It's all nonsense. You remember when the president of South Africa was here, essentially laughing at him? He spread conspiracy theories, Nazi conspiracy theories. What more do you need to see? The hoods are off. And this country's inability, an unwillingness to acknowledge the two enduring sins of this country, which are white supremacy and capitalism, racism and greed. Taking that DeLorean back, we kept saying the Tea Party is a racist movement. And folks, if you were alive at the time, if you were aware at the time, I want you all to dig deep. This country refused to acknowledge racism as the main motivator of the Tea Party, so much so now, when the New York Times did a 10-year retrospective on the Tea Party, they had to go back, remember, and add racism because they were mocked in that analysis, Danielle, that they didn't mention racism. And then said, okay, so sorry, right? Even at like 5 years ago, they're like, no, it's the economic Zaid Chet with the Confederate flag wearing a hood. He's not racist. We can't say that. That hurts Chet's feelings. He's a real American drinking real coffee in the Rust Belt. And he likes Donald Trump because he lost the job, even though he's upper middle class and poor people are voting for Hillary Clinton. So then you had the Tea Party, the whitewashing of the Tea Party, even though they were telling you, oh no, we hate Obama. He's a black. We're really pissed off that this black ascended to the White House. And they were promoting these once fringe white supremacist conspiracy theories that are now so mainstream, literally, that they're in the White House. And Stephen Miller, who promoted these white supremacist theories, is now drafting policies based upon these white supremacist conspiracy theories. They're trying to end birthright citizenship. People forgot Donald Trump has asked the Supreme Court last month to end birthright citizenship. Stephen Miller said the 1965 Immigration Nationality Act that brought my family here was the worst thing that ever happened. They have ICE agents now terrorizing white Americans in Portland. They had already, as Daniel said, kidnapped pro-Palestinian activists off the street for no crimes, Mahmoud Khalil, Ramuza Ozturk, and others. They have literally kidnapped brown people and deported them and sent them to die in an El Salvador prison with our $6 million of taxpayer money. Thankfully, we got those folks back. And now it's a grift where Donald Trump, America first, another piece of breaking news right now. Donald Trump is, as we've been saying, watch this Venezuela space, Danielle. Trump administration authorizes covert CIA action in Venezuela. The deployment comes as the U.S. military is drawing up options for Trump to consider, including possible strikes inside the country. And what we said was the following. They're going to make a connection between drug cartels and drug smugglers and protesters in America. They're going to see if they can get away with extrajudicially assassinating without any evidence these Venezuelans. There was another strike yesterday, no evidence. The family members saying they're fishermen, and then connect them to Antifa and drug smugglers in America. And today we have the Homeland Security official on Fox saying all these people protesting in Chicago going against ICE, they're, wait for it, connected to Mexican drug cartels. And Olivia Troy, who was in the first Trump administration, and then she left, she said Stephen Miller's dream was to bomb Mexico. So now they're saying drug cartels in Mexico. The Republicans last week gave him Donald Trump the green light to extrajudicially, without due process, bomb these drug cartels that he says, without any evidence, is a terrorist organization. They're linking these drug cartels to people dressed up in frog costumes protesting. And last week, folks, because I keep the receipts, in that national security cabinet meeting in which Donald Trump fell asleep, Pam Bondi, Danielle, said, we're going to do to Antifa what we did to these Venezuelan drug smugglers. What are they? They're killing them. What, Danielle, what more do we need to see?
Here, okay, so a couple of things, because here's what I want us all to stop doing. I'm going to stop using the term Antifa, right? Because it plays into their hands. What they are against, what this regime is against, is people that are anti-fascist. Everyone start using the actual full name, anti-fascist, right? So that you make this administration say, so you are for fascism. Because if you're anti-fascist, that means that you're for fascism, correct? Because that's how the English language works. Stop using their language as a way to define who and what we are. I'm saying that to everyone that is watching now and everyone that will watch after this is posted. That's number one. Number two, folks, I'm going to say it again. You are not voting your way out of this. So everyone that keeps holding on to some fantasy that is going to happen during midterm elections, they are literally pulling away your right and your voice to vote, right? It doesn't matter if you don't live in Louisiana or in Texas or in South Carolina, because the fact of the matter is that if we lose the House forever, which is what they are working on, then we have no rights, because it's also much harder to win an entire state in terms of becoming a senator than it is to win a district, which is why gerrymandering has always been focused on congressional districts. That's number two. Number three is this. I keep saying it. Everyone is rallying around no kings. And I think that that is great. Have a show of force on the 18th. But if you do not have a plan for what is happening on the 19th, 20th, and beyond, then what you are doing is essentially an activity before you go to fucking brunch. And that is not resistance, right? That is a fucking day-long internship. That is not what resistance looks like. Resistance looks like actually having skin in the game and losing something. That's what it looks like. Right? And so until we reach a critical mass of people that are not just going to go out in costumes and have quirky signs and what have you, but actually are willing to risk life, limb, and safety in order for us to continue the American project of democracy, until we reach that critical mass, then it's not going to happen. And so for people who keep saying to me, Danielle, what is your plan? What the fuck do I do on a day-to-day basis? Like, in all honesty. If anybody who watches this, like, what is it that I do on a day-to-day basis? Waj, can you tell the people? Like, what is your job? What is your plan? Oh, I don't know. To alert you to all of the things that are happening, because you're not going to learn it from mainstream corporate media. To give you all of the keys so that you can decide which way you want to drive the car. Do you want to follow the clown car off the cliff, or do you actually want to go in a different direction? And going in a different direction is going to require you sometimes to push that fucking car up a hill. Because right now they are snatching every part of the car so that you can't move it.
Listen, the analogy that I've given on the show many times is that Danielle and I, if we were Paul Revere, and we were trying to warn, we're like, hey, the British are coming. They'd be like, who are those slaves who escaped? And they shoot us, and then they'd come and investigate, and we're like, just trying to warn and help save and then we die. And they're like, let's go bury these bodies. That's what happens, folks. And now I said this to Jen yesterday when I was on with Don. I said, listen, white lives matter more in America. White tears matter more in America. White blood is worth more in America. White grievance is taken more seriously in America. Me and Don, as a black man and as a Muslim man, we combine our powers. It's still not worth a fraction of Jen's tears. And Jen understood this, and she was the one who leaned into it, which is why I followed up and I said, we need white women and white men who have the power in this country to be out in the forefront. We need them to be bold. We need them to be blunt. We need them to hold Cory Booker and Jeffries and Schumer's feet to the fire. We need them to be out in the streets. We need them to confront ICE, and we need them to be the ones out there complaining in the town halls. And you're seeing it bubble up because I think, Danielle, look, people of color will do what we've always done in this country. But the tipping point, in my opinion, will come with two groups. There are fissures within the Republican Party. I keep talking about it every day, and I'm all here about divide and conquer, learning from the British colonizers. He cannot escape the Epstein files. He cannot. He has radicalized his base, and even his base wants the release of the Epstein files. The base realizes, oh shit, not the base, but enough people. There's some, you just need 10%. They're like, oh my God, these mother effers are making money and they're bailing out Argentina and they're giving Qatar the Air Force facility. Meanwhile, I'm dying. These soy farmers are slowly figuring out. Latinos who decided to be chickens for Colonel Sanders, they're like, whoopsie, we made a mistake. Now they're back to the 2016 number. These young people who are misinformed, who thought it'd be hilarious to own the libs, they're like, oh shit, beef prices are a record high. I still don't have a job. I can't afford healthcare. Some of these bros like Joe Rogan and others are like, this isn't a good look supporting an administration that's zip tying kids, right? And then Donald Trump is old. He's weak. You see Republicans, they're going to shiv each other in the back. You're seeing Marjorie Taylor Greene, seeing where the wind is blowing, right? She threw Republicans under the bus. She's still blaming Mike Johnson for the shutdown. And I think what we're seeing is two things. I think two things can happen at the same time. They're a weakened party. They know they're a weakened party. That means they're going to play for all the marbles using violence and illegal means. That's what we're witnessing. They realize they can't win. So they're going to be like, all right, we're just going to rig the system, which is simultaneously why they're looking so confident and comfortable right now. Don't you think if you were negative double digits on the economy, negative on immigration, negative on trade, negative on Epstein, I don't know, you'd moderate, you do what like normal traditional politicians would do, Danielle. But notice they've doubled down. And the reason why I think they've doubled down is they realize, okay, we've lost the majority, and Donald Trump probably is not going to stay longer. He thinks he's going to live forever. We don't think so. So let's gobble up as much power as possible. And then once we gobble it up, we ain't giving it back. And I think you're witnessing it in real time, and Americans are suffering from a failure of imagination. They keep saying it can't happen here. Folks, masked armed ICE agents are terrorizing white Americans and zip tying kids. What more do you need to see, Danielle?
I
What
mean,
more do you need to
you
see?
know, I got to tell you that what sent me over the edge today was watching the videos of masked ICE agents running through a Walgreens in Chicago and terrorizing people,
Yep.
literally grabbing people out of the aisles and saying, as they are masked and running at people, why are you running? Right? Like, why are you running? Well, if a masked armed man is fucking gunning towards me, what am I supposed to do?
Without ID.
Without ID, without any bad, nothing. No warrant, no nothing. You're just running up in a fucking Walgreens. And folks, if you have not seen that video, go watch the video, right? Because again, we have given carte blanche to this Department of Homeland Security, to this fascist Gestapo to do whatever the fuck they want at the bare minimum. Bare minimum. And I said this because Governor Pritzker is like, people are being terrorized in this country and blah, 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 and terrorized in this state. And I have commended him for the things that he's saying. You are the governor of the state. Pass a fucking executive order that says that no masked agents can be roaming around the streets of your state. Pass an executive order, pass legislation, get your people into a special session and say, here is the following. You are not allowed, as an officer of this state, to be concealed. You must have a badge that is recognizable with your first name, last name, your badge number, and your face cannot be concealed by anything other than sunglasses, right? That's number one. Number two, you are not to enter any building, whether it is residential, whether it is a public facility, any building, unless you have a warrant for a specific person's arrest. You cannot decide to go in to an apartment building like they did in South Shore in the south side of Chicago and decide that you are going to rappel down from a Black Hawk helicopter and cosplay like you're in some type of fucking video game without, and this zip-tie half-naked children in the middle of the night, some of which were disappeared, by the way. I don't
Yep.
know if they've been returned to their families, but I do know that children were separated from their families, put into U-Haul trucks, right?
Autistic child was. They couldn't find him for like days.
For days. So my feeling is if you are the governor of these states that are now invaded, if you are a governor of a state that is on the brink of invasion, if you are not passing these very basic fucking laws, what are you doing? What are you doing? Who is suing the federal government right now in saying that, fine, you want to deal with an immigration problem? Then get fucking warrants to do so. But no, what did Brett Kavanaugh say? It's okay. If they look brown or they're black or they're speaking a different language, then throw them up, rough them up a bit. It's okay. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal to be dehumanized, to be terrorized on a regular basis, right? So, my feeling is I need these governors in these places not just to be talking tough at press conferences. I need you to actually put things in place that make the citizens of your state safer, right? And right now we have masked agents that don't have warrants, that we have no follow-up on, beating people in the street, throwing tear gas canisters into playgrounds.
Yep. They are tear gassing cops. And I said this earlier, folks, and I try to be fair. Look, there's no both sides, but the only opposition party that we have is Democrats, and they're so limp, so weak, so milk toast. And I wanna just connect the dots. Merrick Garland was a useless piece of shit. He slow walked everything. Donald Trump never, ever, ever, ever saw the inside of a jail cell, never will, never was inside a courtroom for inciting a violent insurrection. He delayed everything because they care more about the institutions. These moderate whites that Danielle and I talk about, and we use the definition of MLK, who warned about them since 1963, who are worse, according to him, than the KKK and the White Citizens Council, right? Because he said they prefer a negative piece to a positive piece. They hate discomfort, right? They want civility instead of justice, right? And so you got the Ezra Kleins. Charlie Kirk did politics the right way. You got Tim Miller throwing me under the bus when we went on Piers Morgan. You got Joe Biden waiting until the final month of his presidency to give recommendations on how to reform the Supreme Court. And the rest of us who are saying, go balls out. Put on your brass knuckles. Fight. Expand the Supreme Court. It's corrupt. They're like, no, 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 we can't do that. Where no one's running on it. Abolish ICE. What more do you need to see? American people will rally behind you. Abolish ICE. Oh, no, no, we can't do that. Let's be Republican light on crime. Let's be Republican light on everything, right? Oh, no, we can't go against the blue, even though literally Republicans celebrated the violent insurrectionists who beat up cops. You know what I would do? Play the tape of Chicago police officers being tear gassed by ICE. And I would say, as the governor, I'm authorizing Chicago police to now hold ICE agents accountable. Any unlawful use of force will be prosecuted under statute. It doesn't matter. No one's above the law. And Chicago police, you are now authorized for all these people who've been sent. If they are unlawfully using force against innocent people, your job is to hold them accountable and serve and protect the community. I guarantee you, if you got cops versus ICE, ooh, Danielle.
This is what I'm saying. This is not rocket science, right? This is using every single tool that you have inside of your toolkit and saying what can be done. How do we keep citizens safe? And by citizens, I mean anybody that is living in your fucking state. How are we keeping them safe? Right? Because what you're doing, if it's not safe to go into Walgreens and it's not safe to shop and it's not safe to go into these places, what do you think is going to start to happen, Waj? You think that people are going to continue spending their money being out and supporting businesses? No, they're not. They're going to start to stay home. And it's not going to be until you see an economic collapse that was unnecessary and didn't need to happen. Until you see that, then maybe people will start to take action. But I'm telling you, folks, if you're in Illinois, if you are in Chicago, you need to pressure the governor and say, we need to be safe. So what we need identification of these people. These folks are driving around in unmarked vehicles. Do you know who drives around in unmarked vehicles? Criminals. Why do criminals
Kidnappers,
drive around
sex
in
traffickers.
unmarked vehicles? Right. So they have no tags, no identity, no nothing. And they're going around and they're beating, abusing, and killing because 20 people have died in ICE custody. 20 people. Right. And that's what we know of.
And some breaking news, if I may. Of course, Capitol Police are investigating a swastika found in GOP Representative Dave Taylor's office. The content of the image does not reflect the values or standards of this office, my staff, or myself, and I condemn it in the strongest terms. And there is a flag, a U.S. flag. All right, imagine the U.S. flag, and the red and white stripes were altered to show a swastika, and then that swastika is proudly right there inside the office of Representative Dave Taylor, a Republican from Ohio. What more do you need to see, folks? And furthermore, speaking about how white supremacy is ultimately destructive and stupid, and we've kept saying it, no matter what y'all want, I'm talking about the racists, you can't make America white again, but you will destroy America. United States falls out of the top 10 on list of the world's most powerful passports. The US is now in the 12th spot. It was first a decade ago. The index ranks how many destinations a passport holder can visit without needing a visa. Who was president 10 years ago? Barack Hussein Obama. Travel to America has fallen down. Tourism to America has fallen down. China is now buying soy from Argentina. Our allies are turning away. China and Europe are poaching students and talent and scientists because we are gutting the National Institute of Health. White supremacy makes everything stupid. This, folks.
Wait, I got to ask you this because you said the breaking down. Who's number one? Whose passport is number
Let's
one
see,
right
let's
now?
see, let's see, let's see. I'll tell you right now. They just came out on the Washington Post. The nations that embrace openness and cooperation are surging ahead, while those resting on past privilege are Singapore. Currently tops the list.
Ah,
I'm not surprised. I'm not
I'm not
surprised.
surprised either.
I was in Singapore several years ago. You know what Singaporeans told me 10 years ago? Oh, the West is finished. We're all looking to the East. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Followed by South Korea, followed by Japan. Uh,
Wow. Wow.
America's 12th because we've become a shithole.
Who's number 10?
Let me see if we can get it. I'm reading this in real time as I just picked
Sorry.
this up. No, 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 no. Here we go. Got it. Number one, Singapore. Number two, South Korea. Number three, Japan. Number four, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, Spain, Switzerland. Give it 2 years. Those countries are going to drop, especially with the rise of right-wing parties. Number five, Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, France, Ireland, Netherlands. Those countries are going to drop. Six, Greece, Hungary, New Zealand, Norway, Portugal, Sweden. Number 10, Number nine, Canada. Number
Canada.
10, Latvia. Number 11, Iceland. I heard Iceland's beautiful. Number 12, I've been to both, United States and Malaysia. White supremacy, they're going to burn this country down, folks. Danielle and I have been saying they're going to burn this country down. And I'm telling y'all, we got to pay attention to the gutting of the Voting Rights Act. That is them overturning Section 2. All that redistricting, it's just like that. They're gonna have their dream. They're gonna have their dream. And how do you overcome cheating? And this is where, as Danielle said, you need all these whites. I'm telling you, I'm looking at the whites. The whites, especially the whites that Democrats, the establishment, corporate American Republicans love, Chet. It's going to be the Chets and the Karens, the real Americans, the Rust Belt Americans, the Heartland Americans, the suburban Americans, all synonyms for the whites. It's the whites in Portland. Now, white people are like, oh shit, Portland's one of the whitest places on earth. And that doesn't protect us. The 79-year-old white man who got tackled to the ground, the shop owner in Chicago, they're like, oh shit, James Comey, powerful white. John Bolton, conservative white. Uh, Now that you have all these folks, soy farmers, the white soy farmers, now they're saying, don't give me a bailout. Bailout just a band-aid. A Chet from Weird Science. God knows what's up exactly. Weird Science. A great outdated movie. Bill Paxton as Chet. That's where I got Chet from. It's like that. Democrats would drop kick a Danielle and sucker punch a Wajahat to go bear hug a Chet holding a Confederate flag. I know you all don't like this. You all ain't paying attention. Elisa Slotkin was the woman that they chose to respond to Donald Trump, not Zoran Mamdani. They still haven't endorsed Zoran Mamdani. So I think it's going to be the majority, Danielle. I think it's going to be the rest of us who are going to have to do mass boycotts, mass marches. We're going to have to organize. And I want your take on this real quick. Don Lemon was on my show yesterday. Don spent 4 days in Chicago
Mhm,
talking to
mhm,
folks.
mhm.
And Don, not at, Don knows the problem of gun violence. Don doesn't want more guns on the streets, but Don straight up said, F it, Second Amendment rights. You know what? Black and brown folks, you just go out there and you hold your guns. Just like the he straight up said, get your guns, hold your guns, unite, link up. And it says, because these ICE folks and these white supremacists and these racists, if they can have guns, we can have guns. And then I'm not for having more guns, but dark humor here. And also being a student of history, I've always said that if you have black and brown people and Muslims walking with guns like white people, first and foremost, we would die. But quickest way to get to gun control, number one, and number two, as you saw in the 1960s when the Black Panthers said, you know what, we're being occupied, we're being oppressed, the police are killing us, no one's protecting us, we don't want to use violence, but okay, we'll have our guns as well to make sure you don't f with us. What happened? Can you tell them what the NRA and Reagan did?
Oh, there's still political prisoners that are in prison right now
No,
for participating in the Black Panthers, and then all of a sudden they outlawed. I think it was
the Mulford
the
Act.
huh?
The
Yeah.
Mulford Act.
Hmm.
So I'm not a fan of that, but folks, listen, I will say this. I'm not a fan of this, but I just want your take on this, Daniel, because we have to be eyes wide open, folks.
Hmm.
This is a country with 400 million guns. There are more guns than human beings in this country. What I've been warning about for a while, and what I'm worried about, is ICE is going to put their hands on the wrong person. ICE might put their hand on Chet and Chet's wife. And there are a lot of guns in this country, Danielle. And what we saw in Springfield, Ohio, is once Donald Trump and J.D. Vance promoted the Nazi conspiracy theory and Patriot Front and Nazis started marching, it's a little underreported story. You know what black communities did, folks? You had black men straight up with guns around their shoulders being community patrol, making sure women and kids were able to cross the street, and the Patriot Front didn't F with them. They didn't F with them once they started coming out in the street with guns. That being said, it's also provocation that Stephen Miller will use to justify cracking down of skulls, which is why when white folks come out with their guns, I'm really curious to see what's going to happen. But this is just me. People say, "Waj, this is crazy." I don't think this is crazy. I understand this country. Danielle, this is, I mean, it's inevitable, folks. There's only so much people can take once you terrorize and kill and friggin' gas them and disrupt their businesses. I'm not advocating for it. I know Stephen Miller, this is a wet dream. There's more guns than people, but this is inevitable, Danielle. But your take on this?
I mean, look, every time that I talk to Jonathan Metzl, Dr. Jonathan Metzl, author of Dying of Whiteness, who is also an expert on
Great
guns.
book.
And gun reform. His latest book, "What We've Become," is all about in an instant. I believe it was in Tennessee in a Waffle House. And what he has always told me, every time there is a mass shooting, sales of guns go up. Because what do people believe? Is that every time they're going to be next, right? And so if I arm up, then I'm going to be okay. And look, like, there are probably right now more and more Black and brown people that are exercising their Second Amendment right and getting guns and getting trained. I have people in my own family that are doing that. People who have been anti-gun that are now getting a
I
gun.
got friends, suburban friends,
And
Muslims. They think I'm stupid for not owning a gun.
yeah, and and so people are saying, well, that's just dumb idea. It's a dangerous idea. People are going to die and blah, blah. And my response to that is people are already dying, right? People are already dying. There is going to be no safe passageway through. And so while guns are not my choice, right? Um, but if other people are making that choice who are do like, then that's the choice that they're making, and I can't rob. I would love a country that doesn't have guns. I would have loved for the Second Amendment to be abolished. I would have loved for all AR-15s and magazines and all of those things and everyone's personal arsenal to be collected and melted down. But that's not the world or the country that we live in. Um, and so we are really just plowing our way to an us versus them scenario.
Oh yeah.
And it's the game that they want to play. They want an us versus them scenario. This is why I continue to say, do not use their language of Antifa. Say anti-fascist, because that's what people are. They are anti-fascist. They keep saying radical left. No, we're people who believe in the humanity of other people, right? Like, stop reiterating their negative language. Use our language, right? And say what it is and call a thing a thing. There's a difference between Black men who are armed that are helping women and children cross the street after being terrorized by white domestic terrorists versus white domestic terrorists that are armed. And if you don't know the difference between those two things, then I can't help you, right? I would encourage you to go to a library, pick up a book. And so it's not for me, but I will be fully honest and say that in the last couple of months, I've thought to myself, while I don't want a gun, I probably should learn how to use one and
Yeah.
go to a gun range and like actually know my way around a gun. Because not knowing at this point, I think is going to be to my detriment. And those
I'm
and
in the
those are facts.
And I'm in the same boat. And when Trump was elected, there are very similar friends who aren't reactionary, but who have families who are brown and black, said, I can't believe you don't have a gun. Of course I have a gun. And when the shit happens, I just need to know that I'm protected because I don't trust white nationalists. I don't trust this government. And these people will be emboldened. And they have all the guns. So at the very least, if I could protect myself from them. And at the very least, if I know how to use it to protect my family. And folks, you might think, oh, Danielle and Roger Cray, look at Portland, look at Chicago, look at DC, look at these people. They're zip tying kids. They don't give an F. And then to put the cherry on top, yesterday, Homeland Security, DHS Gov, at DHS Gov, the actual Twitter account of Homeland Security, posted the following: remigrate or remigrate. And people are like, what does that mean? I've never heard that word. But you know who knows that word? White supremacists. Because that's a word that is literally used in white nationalist circles, which is a synonym for ethnic cleansing. Who posted that? Not Nick Fuentes. Homeland Security. The hoods are totally off. And, what we've heard is Stephen Miller is essentially de facto the head of Homeland Security, effectively, the head of Secretary of Defense, sorry, Secretary of War, the shadow president. You have him and Russell Vought, the two shadow presidents. Russell Vought, as people are suffering right now and can't afford the groceries and the government shut down, he is gleefully firing people from Health and Human Services, the HUD, and a couple other agencies, Department of Education. He's a white Christian nationalist, a co-author of Project 2025. And then you have Stephen Miller, who realizes this is my giggity, giggity, my one chance, giggity, to make America white again. The one positive that we have, maybe we have a couple positives, Danielle, and on this, I'll give you some positive news, is we have the numbers. They do not have the numbers. And in a strange way, their march towards authoritarianism is also a sign of weakness and a realization they cannot win the legal way. So they have to manufacture this crisis and false flag and go for martial law, which is terrifying, but they don't have the numbers. Number two, they are incompetent. They are selfish, they are reckless, and they are self-destructive. You've seen so many leaks, right? You've seen them F up. They're saying the quiet part out loud. Number three, they live now in an incestuous circle. And once you have power, what happens is you think everyone agrees with you, right? Once you live in your own bubble, you think, oh, me like joking about Hitler and rape is like hilarious. And now the normies are realizing you're freaks, you're weird. The fourth thing I would say is this country still worships money more than whiteness. The color green still trumps white, and we are losing a lot of green, Danielle, a lot.
Yeah.
And economic boycotts go a long way. And the whites, the moderate whites, the civil whites, not the whites who are watching. I'm talking about, the whites who think it won't affect them. They're pissed off. They're like, oh shit, this was supposed to affect Danielle and Waj and the Palestinians and the undocumented. And then the fifth thing I will say, and the final thing I will say, he can't escape the Epstein files. That remains his Achilles cankle. And I believe we've been waiting for 10 years. What is that bar? That bar that finally he cannot sink underneath. When people say enough is enough. And I think it's the raping of kids. I think the raping of kids is a step too far. And you see 75 to 80% of Republicans, conservatives, MAGA independents, and Democrats releasing the Epstein files. And a couple of days ago, Eric Swalwell alleged that a Republican colleague sent him a text saying it's inevitably drip, drip, drip. These Epstein files are going to come out. And once they do, the house of cards is going to fall. We're going to be effed. I think that's why you have to lead with the tip of the spear, which is the Epstein files, which is why this is the government shutdown, which is why they're not swearing in Adelita Grahalova, which is finally yesterday. If you saw, Danielle, finally after 3 weeks, the Democrats were like, maybe we should rally around Adelita Grahalova, and it was in the news.
I
So,
literally said that on Democracy-ish, like after she was sworn in. Follow Mike Johnson everywhere he goes on Capitol Hill until he swears her in. Like, that's what 3 weeks ago. Like, but by all means. Look,
oh, did you see Mamdani? Mamdani just appeared on uh, Fox News. And let's listen to it if you can. Can you listen to this?
You to ask how to win this election. I can do those.
He was on
things
Fox News.
Because you spoke about.
All right, he was on Fox News right now, and apparently he said something fire. He spoke directly to Trump. He said he might be watching right now. He looks right at the camera. I hope you all can hear it. Let me know if you can hear this.
I want to take this moment because you spoke about President Trump and you made me want to right now. I just want to speak directly to the president, which is that I will not be a mayor like Mayor Adams who will call you to figure out how to stay out of jail. I won't be a disgraced governor like Andrew Cuomo who will call you to ask how to win this election. I can do those things on my own. I will, however, be a mayor who's ready to speak at any time to lower the cost of living. That's the way that I'm going to lead this city. That's the partnership I want to build, not only with Washington, D.C., but anyone across this country. I think it's important because too often the focus on the needs of working class Americans, working class New Yorkers are put to the side as we talk more and more about the very kinds of corrupt politicians like Andrew Cuomo that delivered us into this kind of crisis.
Solid.
I
Your
mean,
take?
yeah, I think I mean, he is doing. You want to talk? Let me steal a line from Ezra Klein. Mom Donnie is doing politics the right way, right? Which is speaking to the needs of the people, centering humanity, centering the needs of the people, and moving in that direction as opposed to centering the needs of his donors and making sure he doesn't do too much to upset the status quo. That is what it means to be disruptive, right? And that's what it means to disrupt this cyclical, just incestuous loop that is happening and that has been happening in Washington for a really, 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 really long time. But look,
Maybe it's time for the Democratic leaders to endorse him.
I mean, at this point, Waj, I don't care. At this point, if Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries decide to come out, and Pelosi decides to come out, and whomever we're waiting on from the establishment to endorse him, and it is less than a month until the election. Do we give a shit? Does that show us that they have evolved? Does that show us that they're ready to reckon with the fault lines inside of this party? No, it doesn't. Right? It's the bare minimum, and they can't even do that. So I don't need as a matter of fact, them not endorsing Mamdani makes it a shoo-in for him to win, because people are fleeing the Democratic Party for a reason.
And I think he's going to win. Look, even in the Bronx, which was Cuomo's stronghold 3 days ago, Mamdani's up 3 points. In Brooklyn, it's not even close. In Manhattan's not even close. I think in Queens, even then, he's up, right? So I'm thinking he's got it. And apparently, they're doing this horse race saying he has to be perfect tomorrow. Politico said he has to be perfect tomorrow against Cuomo. I'm like, no, he doesn't. Cuomo has to be perfect. And even then, it's not going to be enough. And I'm telling you, folks, I know you think I'm cynical. I will not be surprised if Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Bill Ackman, Hakeem Jeffries have all given advice to Cuomo. Oh, they want Cuomo to destroy Mamdani tomorrow. Oh, how they would love it if they could crush him. But this is where we are, folks. And we have to do our part, and we have to put pressure on the Democratic Party. We have to end this genocide in Palestine. Oh, the ceasefire. What ceasefire? It's gone. And we have to do our part. We're in for a long walk. It's going to be the majority. And the final thing I'll say is this is a country that was born out of revolution. There's something within our DNA. I think there's something in our memory. We took on the British Empire. We said no kings. And I do think, sadly, we have become complacent. We have become slothful. We have become corrupt, lazy, racist. And I think this is the wake-up call. And hopefully whatever comes after this chaos, Danielle, is something that leads towards reformation and not restoration. Danielle, shamelessly promote yourself.
Thank you so much, Waj, and thank you so much just for being a partner in resistance for the last few years. Friends, please, you're watching this right now on the Damn Digest as well as the Left Hook. Please do consider subscribing to both of us, the Damn Digest, both Waj and I. We do not put our content behind a paywall. It is free. But if you do have the ability, if you have the resources to be able to become a paid subscriber, that goes a long way in helping independents like us give you the type of content with integrity and passion that you need. We take money from no one. So you are what fuels our work. So if you have the ability to become a paid subscriber, do consider doing so. Otherwise, just subscribe, like these videos, share them, repost, restack, do all of the things to help the algorithm and help this content and our work get out to more people.
And folks, hopefully
I'm sorry. And I'm live at 5:00 on YouTube for the Danielle Moody Show. So
after you watch Danielle at 5:00, I'm guest hosting yet again for Mary Trump because she was under the weather today, and we're just like, Mary, go to sleep. And so we're gonna break down all the news in 45 minutes at 6:00 on Mary Trump's YouTube channel. So watch Danielle, and if you still got your YouTubes on, tune in to the Mary Trump live show while I'll be guest hosting yet again. Folks, this has been the Left Hook and Damn Digest. Please subscribe. Thank you for those who joined us late, nearly 1,400 people. We're going to have this up on my Substack and Danielle's Substack later on. We went through just a flurry of news, especially the breaking news, and we all connected it. Said it before, said it again. The enduring sins of this country are white supremacy and greed, racism and capitalism. Until we confront it, until we upend it, until we reform it, folks, it's going to happen again and again and again. But maybe, just maybe, inshallah, this is a generation that helps lead the way. Be kind, be informed, and please, oh please, don't be a fascist. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you, my friend.